Now that I've studied Mario for years, learning basically everything there is to know about the overall wearing plumber and his enormous mushroom kingdom, I can safely say that one of my favorite things in the series are the variety of incredible enemies that you come across during your playthrough. However, there are a few baddies that you'll encounter that are difficult to defeat, and even a few that can defeat you easily, giving me the idea to come up with today's video about the most annoying enemies in every Mario game. Here I'll showcase foes from across the series' main entries, going over why they're such a pain, and why they deserve to be in this video. Oh yeah, before I get everything started, my name is Copycat, and if you haven't yet, then please subscribe to my channel, hitting that bell button to stay notified when I upload new videos. Starting things off with the very first entry in the franchise, Super Mario Bros. For the NES, there's definitely a few annoying enemies from that entry, starting with the most obvious, piranha plants. As a young kid, and even sometimes as an adult, this carnivorous looking plant always gets in your way as they pop out of pipes trying to damage you. On top of them blocking your path, they also can't be stomped on, only being eliminated by obtaining a fire flower to use fireballs, or by using the invincibility of a star. One enemy that really gets in your way in the game's underwater levels are the bloobers, which are squid-like creatures that move very erratically in a diagonal pattern, making them hard to avoid. Just like the piranha plants, they can only be defeated with a fireball or by a star, making them incredibly annoying to get around. One enemy that can really cause you problems at times is the cloud-riding Koopa, Lakitu, who happens to throw spinies at you from the top portion of your screen. Even though they can be defeated by just stomping on them, they actually respawn after a short period of time, continuously giving you problems. The final baddie from this title I want to mention are the Hammer Brothers, who are Koopas that usually appear in pairs and just throw endless amounts of hammers at you. If you aren't prepared to do a lot of dodging, then the Hammer Bros will easily hit you and deal damage, or cause you to lose a life. The second installment of the original series is Super Mario Bros. 2, which has several annoying unique enemies, starting with the plant-based Panzers. These lotus-looking flower foes shoot fireballs diagonally in your direction, and can be tough to avoid. That is, until you figure out that you can just run underneath most of them. Another bothersome enemy that comes to mind is the Cobrat, that usually reside in pipes, jumping out to scare you and or damage you. I mean, these snake-like creatures literally have the word brat in their name. What more do I have to say? The final enemy that I want to look at from the series' second installment are the Sniffets, that show up in a few different varieties. There's the gray/green ones that jump while firing projectiles at you, the red ones that walk until they walk off ledges, and the pink ones that just turn around walking back and forth. Now, it's not just that these enemies are annoying, but also the place they show up in, which usually are these desert levels where you have to keep digging to get to a door or a key, which can lead to some very frustrating moments. The final game of the original trilogy is Super Mario Bros. 3, which holds the creation of one of the most annoying enemies in the franchise, the Thwomp. For some reason, this game's version of that stone-like being is the hardest to face off against in the series, as it usually appears in extremely tight quarters, where without platforming precision and patience, you'll surely take damage. One enemy I always felt like was a chore to face off against was the Sledgehammer Bros, who's a chunky Koopa from the Giant Land levels. On top of throwing giant sledgehammers at your head, they also use their sheer weight to jump up and slam down to the ground, causing a miniature earthquake to occur that can stun Mario for a brief period of time. One foe that I've always hated coming up against during my playthroughs of this game are the Rocky Wrenches, who are mole-like creatures that peek out of their manholes and throw wrenches in your direction. These foes are usually placed in spots where you have to platform, making dodging their attacks while not taking damage actually pretty difficult. The only other enemy from this title I want to mention is the infamous Angry Sun, who relentlessly chases you until you finish one of the 2 levels it appears in. Not only does it follow you, but it also swoops down in an attempt to damage you, which isn't hard to dodge, but really does slow you down. The first handheld game in the series is Super Mario Land that was released for the Game Boy in 1989, which contains a few annoying enemies I want to look at, starting with the Bombshell Koopa. Now at first glance, this just looks like a regular old Koopa. That is, until you stomp on it and realize that this version actually turns into a bomb that explodes and can cause damage to you. A pair of enemies I always felt were tiresome are the Sioux and Como spiders, found mainly in the game's Eastern Kingdom. It really is when these two come together where things get a bit trying, and I've definitely lost several lives trying to pass the levels they appear in. Up next, we're going to take a look at Super Mario World for the SNES, which introduces several irritating enemies, starting with their different types of boos. Only appearing in the game's ghost houses, some of the most notable boo baddies include the circling boo buddies, the disappearing boo buddies, the boo buddy snake, and the hard to get around big boo. I've definitely lost hundreds of lives during my playthroughs of these levels over the years, and even to this day I have trouble from time to time. Another enemy from this game that always gets in my way are the Charging Chucks, who appear in several different varieties, but are all football-looking Koopas that rush towards you. Not only can these weirdos throw endless projectiles at you, but they also take 3 stomps to be defeated, so you always have to approach them with caution. The only other thing from this game I want to mention are the Volcano Lotus, only because I almost always find a way to get damaged by them. I think it's because the fire spits out and can be hard to dodge, especially if you're trying to complete the level they're in way too fast. The game in the series with probably the wackiest enemies is Super Mario Land 2 for the Game Boy, where one instantly comes to mind in the annoying category, in the Jack-in-the-Box. This strange and creepy clown-like baddie emerges from certain question mark boxes, bouncing around wildly trying to damage you. I guess this is pretty tame in the grand scheme of things, but its scariness is what pushes it to make this video. The bee is also a very annoying foe in this entry, as they hone in on Mario trying to sting him. The types of these include the regular old bee, the big bee that's similar to a thwomp, and the skeleton bee, that actually comes back to life when stomped on. Honestly, this game has so many enemies that may give you a slight problem, but I really couldn't decide what else to add, so if you think I left one out that should have been in here, then please let me know in the comments below. The first 3D game in the series is Super Mario 64 for the N64, which actually has a lot of pesky enemies, starting with the ones that fling you through the air. The first of these is the purple Bob-omb Chuckya, who picks Mario up and throws him as far as it can, usually leading to the loss of some health. There's also the robotic Heave Hose, that fling Mario high up in the air, that can be helpful to reach higher up platforms, or harmful if you miss them. Finally, there's a sentient cloud Fwoosh creature that blows extremely powerful gusts of wind that can knock Mario off cliffs and fall to his death. One enemy that doesn't throw Mario but body checks him are the bullies, which are horned bomb-like things mainly found in Lethal Lava Land. These really are some of the toughest enemies in the entire game, and getting knocked in the lava repeatedly by these foes loses its fun after a while. An enemy I can't stand, really in any game across the series, is Klepto, a condor who for some reason wants to steal Mario's hat. If the bird's successful and takes your cap, and you exit the level without retrieving it, then you actually remain capless until you get it back, which I won't lie, really made me angry as a young kid. The next mainland game in the series is Super Mario Sunshine for the GameCube, who has its own annoying version of bees, found throughout several of the courses. Instead of just one attacking you, this time they appear in a swarm around you, and can only be run away from or eaten by a Yoshi. An enemy I really dislike is the Cataquacks, that fling you high up in the air on Gelato Beach. They can be sprayed to get stunned temporarily, but if you're underneath something and they swarm you, they can do this to you. Nintendo would eventually return the franchise to its TD roots with new Super Mario Bros. For the Nintendo DS, bringing back most of the original enemies, along with some new ones. One of these additions that's truly annoying are the ghost-like bruisers, that try to punch you and pretty much everything else around them. These tough ghosts take 3 hits to destroy, so be careful when engaging with them. The next enemy I want to look at is an underwater foe called the Deep Cheep, who's really just a green Cheep Cheep that follows Mario around as soon as he spots you. Of course, because you're underwater, you can't stomp on this fish, instead needing the invincibility of a star or a fire flower. The final enemy I want to look at from this game is one that only resides in the World 4 Ghost House, in the Balloon Boo. This inflatable boo approaches Mario from behind to attack him, but if looked at, stops to inhale air to grow in size. It also can't really be defeated by normal means, so you'll just have to find ways to work around this annoying mechanic. Super Mario Galaxy for the Wii is the next game released in the series, which has a few newer annoying enemies, starting with the Eye Beamer. This indestructible laser beam shooting eye tries to damage Mario and really acts more like an obstacle, albeit a tougher one as some of them actually move. I swear this was a Zelda enemy, but maybe I'm wrong? The Bonefin is a pretty rare enemy in the game, only showing up in Bonefin Galaxy, fitting, and annoyingly locks onto you, charging straight for you. The only way these sharks can be killed is by leading them to the surface or by using a shell, so be careful. One enemy I definitely have to mention that fits perfectly in this category is the Cluck Boom, as not only does it pester you with bombs from above, but also lets out some pretty annoying sounds. I'm not sure why there's a robotic bomb-throwing chicken in the Mario universe, but I guess I shouldn't question things. The second game in the new Super Mario Bros. Series came out for the Wii in 2009, definitely spawning the creation of a few annoying creatures, starting with the Ice Brothers. Instead of throwing fire or hammers, this Koopa launches ice balls towards you, freezing literally whatever they hit. It's really the slippery levels these ice throwers appear in combination with their specific abilities, which makes them annoying. One classic enemy made even more annoying because of what it's wearing around its body is the Prickly Goomba, possessing a spiked chestnut shell that damages you if you try to stomp on it. If it's hit by a fireball, then it will be removed, and then just a normal Goomba will remain. Probably my favorite game in the series is Super Mario Galaxy 2 for the Wii, which introduces the Cosmic Clones, that mimics the moves you've just performed as Mario. This makes you have to be careful about how you move around in the space you're given, but it will eventually disappear the deeper you get within that level. One crazy looking enemy that won't stop trying to hurt you is the Homing Chomp, that literally zones in on you, rolling towards you. On contact, these silver chomps will damage you and can only be defeated by spinning a rubbery bulb, or by knocking them off into the void. The Wimps are the only other annoying enemy I want to showcase from this entry, who are minions of the Throwback Galaxy's boss, the Womp King. These angry little things appear in groups, and rush towards Mario, striking him with their bodies, which is actually kind of hard to avoid. One of the most interesting entries in this series is Super Mario 3D Land for the 3DS, which has a handful of enemies that are worth talking about, starting with the inky piranha plants. What's uniquely annoying about this enemy is that when it squirts ink at you, it actually covers the screen, greatly obstructing your view of where to go. This isn't that bad, but definitely unexpected. Another enemy I think deserves a spot in this video is the Block-a-Block, which honestly makes me so mad when I try to hit one of its blocks that I just try to avoid it altogether. This is because it moves pretty fast and has spiked portions at each end, dealing damage if you touch them. The final enemy from this game I want to mention is the Wallop, a thwomp that mimics your every movement. Your best bet is to get the Wallop to jump, as it gives you an opportunity to go around it or on top of it. Honestly, I think it's its goofy look that just ticks me off. The next installment in the new Super Mario Bros. Sub-series came out for the Wii U in 2012, and with it, a character/enemy that has a pretty annoying mechanic in Nabbit. This nabbing rabbit steals items and runs away with them, where the only way of getting them back is by chasing him and damaging him. Now, this isn't too hard to do, especially in 4-player co-op, but it still is tedious. The only other thing I want to mention is that Lakitus now drop piranha pods that actually turn into piranha plants. This does only show up in the blooming Lakitus level, but they do really get in your way. The fourth installment of the new Super Mario Bros. Series is oddly named New Super Mario Bros. 2. Anyways, this 3DS entry only has one annoying enemy I could think of in the Bone Piranha Plant. This new undead version doesn't die as easily as the alive one, being immune to fire, and only vulnerable from a whack of Raccoon Mario's tail. There's also a much tougher Big Bone variant of the plant that will give you even more troubles, only being able to be defeated by a golden fireball. The next game in the series is Super Mario 3D World for the Wii U, which has one enemy that I guess technically is also a living obstacle in the Grumblump. This cubed creature is the only thing that will allow you to traverse through the Grumblump Inferno level, needing to walk and jump on its sides. This can be difficult as at times it can be very easy to fall into the lava, so not jumping if you don't need to, and going slowly are key. The only other annoying enemy I think I should mention are the ring burners, that are robotic pads that emit rings of plasma fire from time to time. These make the toughest level Champions Road that much harder, as at times it feels like there's no way to actually dodge them. Probably the most massive game in the entire franchise is Super Mario Odyssey for the Nintendo Switch, which has a huge pool of annoying enemies to choose from, with one notable one being the UFO. Obviously sounding a lot like the acronym UFO, this flying saucer enemy is really more like a mini-boss, as it throws Goombas down at you and takes more than one hit to defeat. Thankfully these are pretty rare and out of the way, because I wouldn't want to come up against these regularly. The Astral Lancer is another enemy in this game that's pretty hard to kill, as it's a giant floating octopus alien thing that resides on the moon. This creature also shoots spike projectiles out of its mouth at Mario, and you need to dodge these and ground pound its massive head to defeat it. The final entry in the series that we're going to look at is Bowser's Fury, which is a game mode that came out with the re-release of Super Mario 3D World on the Switch. The first enemy I want to look at is the Disaster Neko Cat, that becomes corrupted once Fury Bowser begins to rampage. There's actually no way of defeating this feline, only being able to stun it for a few seconds and having to just wait until the rampage is over. The only other enemy I want to talk about from this game are the Fury Shadows, that are goopy figures that resemble Luigi, having to be chased and hit 3 times to gain a cat shine. This can be quite tricky as the shadow does move pretty fast, and at times it's tough to keep up. Alright, that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. I really hope you did enjoy this one. If you think I left an enemy out of this video that deserved to be in it, then please let me know in the comments. Also, please like the video, and subscribe to my channel. Oh yeah, I do have an Instagram at CopyCatGamer, so go give that a follow. There I upload some cool clips and items from my collection that you won't see anywhere else. Hope you guys all have a good day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!